أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وبارك وسلم. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I welcome you all to today's introductory lecture of financial statements analysis. In today's introductory lecture, we'll go through the following contents. Number 1, self-introduction. Number 2, class introduction. Number 3, course contents introduction. Number 4, introduction to mode of lectures. And number 5, introduction to the subject. So let's begin with the first one, with the self-introduction. My name is Nusratullah Noori. I've done my MBA in finance, and by profession I'm a chartered public accountant. I teach in Salam University, mostly finance, accounting and auditing subjects. So this time, inshallah, I'll be teaching you financial statements analysis. Besides, I'm a full-time employee. I work in one of the leading consultancy firms in Afghanistan, which is called More Afghanistan. So that's all about me. Now let's talk about the class. This subject is for the students of 7th semester, students of BBA, 7th semester, for morning, afternoon and evening sessions for both male and female students, especially for the students who have chosen their specialization to be finance. So financial statements analysis, this is one of the specialized subjects offered to students in BBA who want to specialize in finance. Now let's talk about the course contents. This is the course contents of our subject. Basically, the entire curriculum has been divided into 16 weeks, and then each week contains its own specific topics that we are going to cover. Inshallah, we'll go week by week and cover all the lectures given in this course curriculum. Please keep in mind that this subject is one of the most important subjects that you study in your specialization. So I urge everybody to not only rely on class lectures or the lecture delivered by the teacher, but also refer to the books, have some self-study from the websites, from the internet, and also watch videos on YouTube on certain topics, and also follow the book that I'll provide you, or any other book that is easy for you to understand and contains all these topics which are given in this course curriculum. So you can see there are 16 weeks, and each week contains specific topics. Week 1, week 2, week 3, you can see week 4, week 5, week 6, and week 16. So we have some in week 8 we have some assignments and quizzes, and then there is midterm examination also. In week 6 we have assignments and quizzes, and then there are presentations and final term examinations. It means that this subject is going to have practical work as well. First few lectures will have theoretical background, means it will be theory. Most of the lectures will be theory. It's because to make a strong foundation of the knowledge based on which we'll be doing some practical work, we'll be doing analysis of the financial statements. So it's quite important to build a strong foundation of financial accounting and financial state and finance related topics knowledge. So that's why in the beginning weeks we have theory about the financial statements, the purpose of it, the information, source of information for the financial statements analysis, the methods and the tools, and we'll have discussion on different financial statements, how they are prepared, how they are built and prepared, used in Afghanistan, and also what are their ways of preparing as per the international standards. So the first week, the half of the course is mostly of theory, and the half of the course sorry for the interruption. So as I was discussing that the half of the course is theory and the half is practical. So inshallah we'll go through all of them. And there are I'll provide you the book that you can use as a reference, as a source of self-study as well. So that's all about the course content. Now let's talk about the mode of lecture. Our mode of lecture is going to be very efficient. Inshallah, we'll be discussing the lectures from the lecture slides. Inshallah, I'll provide them to you in PowerPoint form. Besides, we'll have a Word file. Here we will discuss anything which requires further explanation and elaboration. So we will discuss that on the Word file in a simple English. So you guys will have a lecture note as well as a class note. Class note is going to be the Word file, and lecture note is going to be the PowerPoint slides. And then at the end of every lecture, or at the end of each chapter, I'll provide you the entire class notes via Salam LMS. Also, I'll provide you the PPT slides or lecture slides in Salam LMS along with this video lecture. And the mode of delivery is going to be mainly in English, but also we'll switch between the languages, Dari language and Pashto language as well, for your better understanding. Inshallah, if you have any questions, you can come back to me with those questions in that specific WhatsApp group. So inshallah, when we have a next lecture, I'll first discuss all those questions, elaborate them and solve them, and then we'll go ahead and start a new lecture. So that's going to be the mode of lecture, right? The lecture slides, the class notes, and the video lecture, and all these three things will be provided to you on Salam University LMS, and you have access to that. And if you have any question in the lecture on any topic, you can come back to me via that specific WhatsApp group. So that is going to be our mode of lecture. All right. Now let's talk about the subject introduction. So this subject is basically, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the finance specialized subjects, and this subject is called financial statements analysis. And this is one of the most important subjects for the finance specialized students. Therefore, I earlier mentioned and urged you to have special consideration for this subject and get yourselves extra material and have self-study and come back to me with questions anytime and any type of questions related to this subject if you have. So let's begin with the course introduction. So first we'll discuss the objectives, the main objectives of this course. The main objectives of this course are, number one, to understand the analysis of financial statements, the meaning of the financial statements analysis, and the purpose of the financial statements analysis. Right? Number two, understand the purpose of basic financial statements and their contents. We'll also have discussion on the financial statements and their contents, and we will understand them, how they are prepared, on based of what standards and why each content is, designed in a certain way, and what information can we get from those financial statements. We will have discussion on accounting and financial reporting standards, which are the fundamental guidelines of all the accounting and financial reporting. We'll discuss the uses of ratios to analyze a firm's health, and then recommend reasonable alternative courses of action to improve the health of a firm. So here, this subject will enable us analyze the financial statements of a firm and then provide advices to the users of the financial statements regarding how and what actions should be taken in order to improve a company's financial health. So basically this subject is going to make us advisors or experts in finance. We'll be able to comment on financial statement of a company and then advise that company to how they can improve a certain financial issue that they have in their performance or financial position. In this subject, we'll also discuss the financial statements analysis and its importance to the firm and outside suppliers. We'll discuss how the analysis of financial statement is important to us, to the internal users, and to the external users. Inshallah, we'll discuss who are internal users and who are external users. We'll also have discussion on the major financial statement ratios. We'll divide them into different categories and then we will calculate them. We'll have practical work using the information from a certain company's financial statement, and then we will have the explanation of our answer. After we have calculations and everything, we use a certain analysis, and then we find a answer. Then we'll have to advise what this answer means. It means that the subject is going to make us expert, where we will use information from the financial statements of a company, will calculate using analysis or tools which are used in this subject, Later on we will discuss them as well, and then we will be able to advise people on what this answer means and what should be done in order to save from the risk. We'll have discussion on calculation and on firm's operating cycle and cash cycle and accounting cycle. There are three most important cycles in a firm's life, financial life. Number one is operating cycle, number two is cash cycle, and number three is accounting cycle. So these three cycles are very clear from its name. Inshallah, we'll have discussion on what operating cycle is and what cash cycle is and what accounting cycle is. And I'm sure you guys already have some information on these three terms: operating cycle, cash cycle, and accounting cycle. From the name we can get some information like operating cycle. Operating cycle, how a firm operates. Cash cycle, how a firm collects its cash or manage its cash. And accounting cycle is how a company records and then reports its financial information. So inshallah we'll have further discussion on these three later on in later lectures. Next content of objective of this course is analyze a firm's return on investment, which is the earning power of a company, and return on equity using DuPont approach. DuPont is one of the tools or techniques used in the financial statements analysis, or used to analyze the financial statements, right? So we want to analyze the return on investment of a company using DuPont approach. DuPont has it's a separate technique. Using this technique, we'll find out a company's return on investment. Return on investment means earning power of a company. And then return on equity. Return on equity means the power of a company financing itself from the internal finances, right? So we'll discuss them as well. Understand the limitation of financial ratios. Financial ratios are the other techniques of analyzing financial statements. As I mentioned earlier, one of the techniques is DuPont approach. The other technique of analyzing financial statement is financial ratios. There are some other techniques as well by the name of trend analysis, common size analysis, index analysis, and some other tools and techniques which are used to analyze financial statements. So we'll have to go through all of them. Inshallah, we'll work on them step by step and one by one. And inshallah, I'll make you expert of using all these methods and tools and techniques which will enable you to analyze the financial statement of a company and then advise. I usually explain to my students and say that basically this subject is going to give you expert eyes. Like there'll be difference between your view of a financial statement and some other person view of the financial statement. For example, there is a layman, like he's not expert in finance, he's a general person. When he looks at a balance sheet of a company, so he just looks at the assets portion, the liability portion, and the equity portion, and he sees some figures, right? Knowledge that he can get from this financial statement is he'll say like this company has this much accounts payable, and this much is account receivable, and these much are the total assets, and this much is the debt, and this much is the the equity. That's the general information that he can get from a financial from a balance sheet. But as an expert, when you look at that financial statement, that balance sheet, you will have a different view, because you have studied this subject, and this subject has made you expert. So you see things that nobody else can see, right? You see things that a layman or general person cannot see those things. For example, there is a hard graph, right? You may have seen the hard graph on a piece of paper. There are lines going up and down. When a general person look at that graph, what he can explain is that there are lines which goes ups and down. So the most he can explain is this, that the heart is working, that's all, right? He cannot specifically say that what does this line mean, the line which goes sometimes goes more up and sometimes goes down, and sometimes it's less up and sometimes it's less down. So a normal person cannot explain what those lines mean. But when you take that graph to a cardio doctor or a heart doctor, when he looks at those lines going up and down, he sees there's something else, and then he can explain each and every line going up and down and straight in a different way. So similar is going to be the case between you guys and a person and a common person. So when a common person looks at the financial statement, he will see something else, right? But when you guys look at that financial statement, you will see a lot of things, different things that nobody else can see. So it's all because of this subject. So that's why I say this subject is very important. It's going to make you experts of the field of finance, especially expert of viewing or reviewing or analyzing the financial statements of a company. And financial statements, they are the most formal and important documents or reports presented by a company, from where a company's performance, a company's financial position, and a company's equity and a company's stability can be ensured and can be found. So you guys are going to be the expert of financial statements analysis, inshallah, right? So as I told you earlier, that there are 16 weeks and each week there are topics. These topics have been divided into various chapters, right? Into 7 or 8 chapters. And this design of these chapters are different than the chapters that you will see in the book, right? I've designed them in a different way, in a way that is helpful for the students to learn and to study. So how I have designed them, each of the chapters contain 2 or 3 lectures, and each lecture discusses 2 or 3 main topics, and there are certain subtopics as well. But the whole purpose of a lecture is talking about a single topic, right? And that single topic is discussed, explained from various points, from different aspects. For example, and one thing more, that each lecture is connected to the other lecture and other lecture is connected to the other lecture, right? So one chapter has 3 lectures, all these 3 lectures are interconnected. Then we have another chapter, like chapter 1 has 3 lectures, So all the lectures of chapter 1 are interconnected. Then we have chapter 2. So chapter 1 has a connection with chapter 2, and then within chapter 2 there are 2-3 lectures which are interconnected to one another. So all the lectures of chapter 1 has connection with the lectures of chapter 2, and similarly with the lectures of chapter 3. So let me show you. For example, this is chapter 1. The name of the chapter 1 is an overview of the financial statements, right? We have the main objectives of this chapter, and the lectures that we are going to discuss in this chapters are these. So then we have lecture 1. In lecture 1, it's about the definition of financial statements analysis and its importance and purposes, right? So in this chapter, all the slides, there could be 5 or 6 slides. All these slides will talk about the definition of financial statements analysis, the purpose of the financial statements analysis, the importance of the financial statements analysis, right? You see all these slides, each slide has a different topic, but all these topics talk about a single topic which is given in the beginning of the first lecture about this, right? So then we have lecture 2. It's users, sources, tools and types of financial statements analysis. So this lecture is talking about all these things, right? See, then we have lecture 3. Lecture 3 talks about the factors of business survival and problems with financial statements analysis. So in this lecture, all the slides talks about the factors of business survival and problems with financial statements analysis from different aspects, right? So all these slides you see in chapter 1 are divided into 3 lectures, and one lecture is important for the other lecture, and other lecture is important for the other lecture. We cannot skip one lecture instead of the other lecture. For the second lecture, the first lecture is important. For the third lecture, second lecture is important, right? So this is all about the subject introduction, right? So inshallah, in the next lecture, this was only the introductory lecture where I introduce you to the subject, to myself, to the way we will be studying, and inshallah in the next lecture we'll start from chapter 1, right? And then lecture 1 and lecture 2 and lecture 3. We'll see that in 30 minutes how many lectures can we cover. So mostly our lecture is going to be for 30 minutes, and inshallah we'll see how much can we cover in those 30 minutes, right? So hope this lecture helps you. In this lecture there was like no topic discussed, but it was a general discussion. It was an introductory lecture. The main purpose of this lecture was to introduce you to the subject and to the teacher and to the course contents, so you have an idea of what you are studying and how you are studying, right? So thank you so much for being with me. Please let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions, any recommendations. Please do let me know so we can further improve our delivery of lectures, inshallah. Saida محصلین عزیز، این لکچر تعارفی بوده. دیگه ما کدام تاپیک را دیسکس نکردیم. مقصد این لکچر همی بود که شما را به ما معرفی بسازیم و کتی مضمون معرفی شوین شما و کتی شیوه و یا طریقه که ما استفاده میکنیم به خاطر درس دادن انشاءالله کتی زو شما معرفی شوین. سو خدای دیو کی چی تاسی دغه سبجیکت سره معرفي شوی استای چې څنګه به موږ درس وایو، دا سبجیکت به څنګه مخکې موږ وړو. ان شاء الله تاسو نه هیله ده چې هر قسمه تاسو سوال لرئ او کوم پیشنهاد لرئ ان شاء الله ماته په ګروپ کې ماته راولېږئ. ان شاء الله زه به پر روان لیکچر د پاره هغه ټول تاسو پیشنهادات په نظر کې ونیسم او موږ به ډېر ښایسته او ډېر ښکلی ماحول د زده کړې انشاءالله ولرو. ډېره مننه. Thank you so much.